our son is a delight and a joy. He's a 35-year-old man, amazing, amazing man. But when he was born with a facial birth defect. He had no upper lip. He had no hard or soft palate. It's called a cleft lip and palate, but he had no upper lip, no hard or soft palate. That it was open from here all the way down to here, and he was a whole month early, but he was almost 8 pounds a whole month early. So thank you, Jesus, he came a whole month early. But when he was a baby, I can remember God filled me with such amazing love. And just such an incredible grace that came on me, even though we were walking through a place of disappointment. And so I can remember, Ruth, we believe in miracles. And so, of course, we were believing for God to just do what he does and just do a recreative miracle and finish outside the womb what he did not get finished inside the womb. But I'll tell you, the first few weeks, we were praying, we were decreeing, we were believing for miracles. My husband went on a 21-day fast. And all during this time, I had this amazing, incredible love for my son. But I will tell you, in the midst of being disappointed to have to deal with this, I also got very tired. And let me just say, being tired sometimes will affect your ability to apply all the wonderful spiritual principles. You just kind of get to the end of your rope. And so let me just describe what our first few weeks were like. He could not suck a bottle. He couldn't nurse, and he couldn't suck a bottle because he had no upper part of his mouth. So we had to cross-cut a preemie nipple to get him to chew the milk out of this bottle. And the other thing he was missing was the flap in the back of his throat that controlled what went into his stomach versus what went into his lungs. So while I'm feeding him, he could drown. So I had to be very attentive, and I had to be very ready to, aspirate him if necessary. And then they had fitted him with this little prosthesis in his mouth to try to help give him at least a little bit of a roof to his mouth. And when I would feed him, it would rub blisters and he would bleed. I'm sorry to get so graphic with this.
No,
I just want you to know I'm a woman that's full of faith, but man, I was getting worn out. I was getting worn out. I was praying in tongues. I was praying in the spirit. I was believing God. And all this time, it just seemed like he got smaller and smaller because it would take me about an hour to an hour and a half to give him 1 ounce of formula. And then many times when I would sit him up to burp him, he would throw it all up and I'd have to start over again. And so I was feeding him day in, day out. Other people couldn't do it because he could choke, he could drown. I had to be very, very on top of it. So I was having a very real and very raw conversation with the Lord one night. And see, when Jason was born, the Lord spoke to me. And let me just say, my whole answer to hope deferred is hear the voice of God. I mean, hear the word of the Lord. One word from God will change everything. Yeah. So when he was born and I looked at him for the first time, not only was my heart overwhelmed with incredible love, but number two, I heard the voice of the Lord almost in an audible voice in my ear. And I was naturally, I was a little bit in shock because I didn't know what I was looking at, but I heard God say this to me. He said, Jane, this is not your fault. And you can handle this.
Wow.
So it was like God was like cheering me on. It was a trial. It was a test, but he was like going, come on, you got this. We've got this together. You can handle this. So every time I would start feeling like, oh my gosh, this is too hard. Right. I would remember the Lord say, you can handle this, until one night. And that night I just had a meltdown. It was probably 3:00 in the morning. I had just fed him again. I was exhausted. I sat him up to burp him and put him to bed, and he threw it all up. And so I was going to have to start over again. And I just started crying, and I just started telling the Lord, listen, God is not afraid of our real, raw conversation. And I said to the Lord, Lord, this is too hard. This is so hard. You said I could handle this, but this is too hard. I can't handle this. Right. And the Lord, in his amazing, tremendous love for me, this is how he responded to me, Ruth. He said, stop it, Jane. I him say it just like that. Stop it, Jane. And, and I said,
I got shocked with that answer.
you would think he would go, oh, bless your sweet heart. This is such a hard time. I know. No, he said, stop it, Jane. And listen to what he said. And he said to me, right now, you make a choice. This is what he said. I was like so pitiful. I was crying. I was sniffing. And he goes, right now, you make a choice.
Wow.
You either believe what I said to you is true, or you can just go down the path that your emotions want to take you. But if you go down that path, my grace doesn't go with you. And you know what I said to him, Ruth? I said, why are you being so mean to me?
He was becoming your grandpa at this time.
And I said, well, Lord, of course I'm going to have to believe you. Of course. What kind of a choice is that? I choose to believe, even though everything inside of me, I said, I choose to believe. And I thank you for your grace, because you said I could handle this. And I want you to know, it was like I got flooded with God's grace, flooded with God's peace. And not only that, God touched my son. And from that day forward, he started eating. He started holding everything down. It was just like a turnaround miracle. Now, we still had to go through surgery. And when he had his first surgery, he was 5 months old. And we believed God for a supernatural miracle, a supernatural manifestation of a creative miracle, right up until the time that he had surgery. And when it didn't happen, Ruth, I got a little disappointed again. But I remember the Lord saying, you can handle this. And I knew we had done everything spiritually, everything believing God. We've seen God do creative miracles. And so, you know what? I just said, Lord, I'm going to put my trust in you. I don't understand this, but I'm going to put my trust in you. And I gave up my need to understand.